I walked into Ethan's house holding the dish I made, expecting a normal Christmas dinner. The moment the door closed behind me, the room shifted. Everyone went silent. Melissa was standing at the end of the table with her arms crossed, like she had been waiting for me to make a mistake. "You're early," she said. "I'm on time. Dinner is at 6. Melissa pointed at the table. There were plates everywhere, candles, napkins, glasses, even a seat for her cousin, who barely spoke English, but there was no plate for me. "There's no seat for you. We're full." I looked at her, then at Ethan. "You couldn't put one more plate?" Melissa didn't blink. "You take up space. Please leave." Ethan didn't argue. He didn't even swallow hard. He just placed his hand on her shoulder like he was agreeing with her. "Mom," he said quietly, "Melissa is overwhelmed. Tonight isn't a good night." "I was invited." Ethan looked down. "Melissa and I talked. We decided it was better if you came tomorrow." "No," Melissa cut in. "I decided, not him." The table stayed silent. No one moved. No one said a word. It was as if they were watching a TV show instead of a real person being thrown out. The Christmas lights behind them glowed warm against the window, but it didn't match the room at all. I set my dish down and reached for my coat. "I'll go." I walked toward the door, but Ethan stepped forward. "Mom, wait." For a second, I thought he would apologize. Instead, he held out his hand. "The keys. I need them back." I stared at him. "You're serious?" "You're on my insurance," he said. "It's better if I keep the car." Melissa added, "And the phone. It's under his plan, so it stays here." I exhaled slowly. "You want my phone?" "It's reasonable. Nothing personal." I took the keys out of my pocket and placed them in Ethan's hand. He reached into my coat and removed the phone. He didn't even hesitate. "Merry Christmas," Melissa said, like she was dismissing a housekeeper. I stepped outside. The cold hit me instantly. Snow tapped against my sleeves, collecting on my collar. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a car. I didn't have cash. I stood there for a moment, looking at their front door. No one opened it again. No one called my name. They moved on with dinner without missing a beat. I walked down the driveway. The neighborhood lights were bright, but the street was empty. My breath smoked in front of me as I tried to decide where to go. With no money and no phone, there wasn't much to decide. A black limousine slowed at the curb. The window rolled down. A man with silver hair leaned toward me. His voice was even and clear. "Mrs. Whitford?" I paused. "Do I know you?" "I'm Alistair Grant," he said. "I live 2 houses down. I saw what happened." I didn't respond. I wasn't sure I could. "I didn't mean to intrude," he said, "but you shouldn't be out here alone." "I'll be fine." "In this weather? Without a phone?" I didn't answer. He noticed. He opened the door of the limousine a little wider. "My driver is coming around the corner. Pretend to be my wife. Just for a moment." I frowned. "Why would I do that?" "To avoid questions. It makes everything simpler." "I don't want to pretend anything." "You don't have to pretend for long," he replied. "Just get in the car. You can sit quietly and warm up." I looked at the house behind me. Not a single curtain moved. Not one person checked whether I made it off the porch. I turned back to Alistair. "Why help me?" I asked. He didn't hesitate. "Because what your daughter-in-law did is unacceptable, and because your son didn't stop her." My throat tightened, but I kept my face steady. He added, "Your daughter-in-law will regret abandoning you." "I don't have a daughter," I said automatically. "Only a daughter-in-law." "Then she's the one I meant," he replied. "Either way, she'll regret it." The passenger door opened, and a woman stepped out. She wore a dark coat and moved with practiced calm. "Mr. Grant?" she asked. "Should we head home?" "This is my wife," Alistair said, nodding at me. "She needs warmth." She looked at me with a soft expression. "Of course. I'm Fatima. Please get in." The cold pushed against my back. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the temperature sinking deeper into my sleeves. I got into the car. Heat wrapped around me immediately. I placed my hands on my lap, trying to stop the shaking. Fatima followed me in and closed the door gently. "You're all right now," she said. The car started moving. I didn't look back at the house. I didn't want to see their windows or the lights or the shadows moving behind the curtains. Alistair sat across from me. "You don't have to talk. Not tonight." I nodded. "You just lost the people who should have protected you," he said. "That takes a moment to process." I looked at him. "I didn't lose them tonight. I think I lost them years ago." He nodded once, like he understood. The car turned onto the main road. City lights slid across the windows. "Where can we take you?" Alistair asked. I opened my mouth, then closed it. I had nowhere to go. He saw it immediately. "You'll come with us," he said, "temporarily, until you decide your next step." I didn't refuse. I didn't argue. I didn't pretend I had another option. "Thank you," I said quietly. Fatima looked back at me. "You're safe," she said again. The limousine moved through the neighborhood while I tried to steady my breathing. Heat filled the cabin, but my hands were still cold from standing outside with nothing in them. I kept them folded in my lap. Alistair watched me with the kind of attention people give when they already know part of the truth. Fatima adjusted the temperature and glanced at me. "If it's too warm, let me know." "It's fine, thank you." Her tone held no pity, only respect. I wasn't used to that anymore. Alistair leaned back slightly. "Your son didn't even look out the window after you stepped off the porch." I stared ahead. "He hasn't looked at me in years, not really." Fatima exchanged a brief look with him, then focused on the road. Alistair kept his voice even. "Why did they treat you like that?" The question was simple, but it pressed against every bruise the evening had left. I kept my words short. "Melissa never liked me. Ethan follows whatever keeps the peace." "And you let them?" Alistair asked, not mocking, just observing. "I let my son believe he was still a good man," I replied. "That was my mistake." Fatima's eyes softened in the rearview mirror for a moment. Alistair rested his hands on his knees. "Cruelty from your own child cuts the deepest. It leaves a mark nothing else can touch." My jaw tightened. That line felt too accurate. The car stopped in front of a tall building with clean glass and soft lighting. Not flashy, just precise. Fatima stepped out first and opened my door with a small nod. "Welcome," she murmured. I stepped out cautiously. The wind hit my face again, but the entryway lights gave the sidewalk a calm brightness. Alistair joined us. "This is one of my properties," he explained. "A quiet place, fewer people, better for tonight." "I don't want to intrude," I responded. "You're not intruding," Alistair replied. "You're surviving a bad night, that's all." Fatima walked ahead and scanned her keycard. The lobby opened into a warm, clean space. No decorations, no noise, just order. As we entered the elevator, Alistair kept his tone low. "You remind me of my late wife. She never complained. She never raised her voice. She just endured more than she should have." I looked at him. "Did that help her?" He met my eyes. "No, it broke her." The elevator doors opened. The hallway was quiet, lined with soft lighting. Fatima unlocked a room at the end. "You can rest here," she told me. "Fresh linens, bathroom stocked. If you need anything, press the panel near the bed." The room was simple. Neutral colors, tidy space, a small armchair near the window. I didn't move past the doorway. "I can pay you back," I told Alistair. "For tonight, for the ride." He shook his head lightly. "Kindness isn't a debt, not in this house." I stepped inside slowly. Fatima placed a folded blanket at the foot of the bed. "I'll bring warm tea," she whispered. "Mint or ginger?" "Ginger," I answered. She nodded once and left. I stood there, unsure what to do with the silence. My life had not allowed for quiet in a long time. Quiet made you think, and thinking could hurt. Alistair lingered at the doorway. "You're safe here. No one will bother you." "Thank you," I replied. "I didn't expect kindness tonight." "You needed dignity," he responded. "I could offer that." I lowered myself onto the bed. The mattress didn't sink. It supported, something I hadn't felt in years. He placed a cell phone on the bedside table. "Use mine tonight. You may want to contact someone." I stared at the phone. "There's no one to call." He paused. "Try anyway." I picked it up. The screen felt unfamiliar in my hand. I tapped Ethan's number. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. "He blocked me," I murmured. Alistair stood still for a moment. Some doors close because they must. He didn't push further. He left the room quietly, soft steps fading down the hall. I turned the phone over in my hand and set it aside. I walked into the bathroom to wash my face. The light was bright and unforgiving. I didn't avoid the mirror. I didn't look long either, just enough to acknowledge the woman standing there. A knock came. I opened the door. Fatima held a tray with a teapot and a small bowl of biscuits. "Drink while it's warm," she told me. "It helps." I nodded. "Thank you." She lingered for a second. People who throw away family often regret it. Not tonight, but eventually. I took a slow breath. I guess I really have no one. Fatima didn't react with shock or pity. She simply touched my shoulder, light and steady. "You have yourself. Start there." She left the room, closing the door softly behind her. I sat again, lifting the cup between my palms. The heat settled into my fingers. It grounded me. Outside the window, the city lights formed a clear pattern. Not blurred, not drifting, just steady, predictable. My life had fallen apart within 2 hours. But sitting in that room with warmth and silence and the first real respect I had felt in years, I realized something else. It could also be rebuilt. The phone vibrated once on the bedside table. I looked at it, expecting Ethan. It wasn't. It was a number I didn't recognize. I didn't answer. Not tonight. I stayed on the edge of the bed for a long moment after Fatima left. The room felt calm, controlled, almost too clean for the chaos running through my mind. I placed the tea on the nightstand and walked toward the window. The city below moved with a steady rhythm, people going on with their lives while mine had collapsed 2 hours earlier. I turned back to the bed and picked up the phone Alistair had left for me. I held it for a few seconds before unlocking the screen. Ethan's number appeared at the top of my contacts list. After a breath, I tapped it. 1 ring, then voicemail. I tried again, straight to voicemail. 3 tries in, the truth clicked. "He blocked me," I whispered. The words felt small, but they were clear. I lowered the phone and set it on the blanket. My fingers trembled, not from the cold this time, just from the final confirmation that my own son had chosen convenience over me. I walked into the bathroom. The bright overhead light didn't hide anything. I pressed my hands against the sink and leaned forward. I didn't cry loudly. I didn't fall apart. I just let the tears fall because no one was here to judge them, and I had no energy left to keep every part of myself upright. For years, I held the family together. Tonight, the family pushed me out like I was nothing. A knock came on the door. Not loud, just enough to let me know someone waited. I opened it. Alistair stood there, calm as ever. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I'm fine," I replied, wiping my face with the back of my hand. He stepped inside but kept his distance. "You don't need to pretend strength here." "I'm not pretending," I answered. "I'm adjusting." He nodded. "That makes sense." I walked back to the bed and sat down. Alistair pulled the armchair from the corner and positioned it across from me. "I spoke with my brother earlier," he mentioned. "He knows I'm hosting someone tonight. He didn't ask questions. He trusts my choices." I folded my hands. "You have a brother?" "Older," he replied. "He lives quiet, travels when he wants. We share a few properties, this one included." I nodded slightly. "You come from a family that still checks on you." "He checks," Alistair confirmed. "Not my children. They keep their distance." I looked at him. "Why?" "They prefer my money over my presence. Asking for anything else irritates them." "That sounds familiar," I muttered. He watched me for a long second. "You called your son." "Yes." He answered? "No." Alistair leaned back. "Then you saw the truth." I lifted the cup from the tray and took a drink, even though the tea was cooling. I kept hoping he would grow a spine someday, that maybe he'd stand up to Melissa. "He won't," Alistair replied. Men like him follow the strongest voice in the room. Right now, that voice is hers. And she hates me, I added. She fears you, he corrected. Strong women scare weak ones. I looked down at my hands. She threw me out of their house. You walked out, Alistair countered. There's a difference. I raised my head slowly. She took my phone. Yes, he acknowledged, but you're holding another one now. I didn't argue. He wasn't wrong, but the gap between what I lost and what I gained still felt heavy. Fatima returned with fresh linens folded neatly in her arms. I brought extra towels, she told me, and a charger for the phone. She placed them on the dresser, then looked at me. You should rest. The body remembers stress. I nodded. Thank you. She glanced at Alistair. Do you need anything else? I'm fine, he replied. She left the room as quietly as she entered. I exhaled. I don't know how to repay you for all this. This isn't a transaction, Alistair replied. You needed safety. I had room. That doesn't make it simple, I countered. It doesn't need to be simple, he returned. It just needs to be honest. I looked around the room again. Clean bed, folded blanket, warm lighting. A level of respect I hadn't received from my family in years. Why did you step in? I asked. I lost my wife 4 years ago, he noted. Around the same time, my children realized they could use grief as leverage. They wanted the businesses, the assets. They treated me like a bank account with legs. I learned to recognize the pattern in other families. And you recognized it in mine, I murmured. He nodded once. Your son stood there silently, while his wife stripped you of every basic dignity. Keys, phone, respect. That tells me everything. I closed my eyes for a second. He wasn't always like this. He grew into convenience, Alistair replied. People change when comfort becomes a priority. I let that thought settle. I don't know where to go from here, I admitted. That's tomorrow's problem, Alistair answered. Tonight is about breathing again. I took another sip of tea. The warmth helped settle the tightness in my chest. Will Melissa contact me again? I wondered aloud. Not if she thinks she won, Alistair replied. But she didn't. It feels like she did, I countered. Alistair leaned forward. You left with your dignity. She kept the house, the dinner, and the guests. She didn't keep you. That's the difference. I held on to that sentence for a moment. The phone buzzed on the nightstand. I reached for it quickly, expecting Ethan. The screen displayed an unknown number. I let it ring. That's not him, Alistair observed. No, I replied. If he wanted to talk, he would have let my call go through. Alistair stood. Get some sleep. Fatima is outside if you need anything. I nodded. Thank you for everything today. You walked through the door, he remarked. I only opened it. He stepped out of the room and closed the door gently. I settled back onto the bed, pulling the blanket over my legs. The room stayed still, quiet, safe. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a burden. I woke early the next morning, long before the sun came up. The room was quiet. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then everything from last night returned in a single wave. The dinner, the humiliation, the cold street, the limousine, the silence when Ethan didn't pick up. I sat up, smoothed the blanket, and took a slow breath. There was no shaking, no panic, just clarity. A soft knock came at the door. I opened it. Fatima held a small tray with toast, fruit, and warm coffee. Breakfast, she told me. You need something in your system. Thank you, I answered. She stepped inside, placed the tray on the desk, and adjusted the curtains to let in a bit of light. Mr. Grant is in the common room, she mentioned. He's waiting for you. I nodded. I'll be there soon. After she left, I washed my face, straightened the bed, and walked out with the coffee in my hand. The hallway smelled faintly of citrus and clean linen, simple, controlled, calming. I found Alistair in a quiet room overlooking a small garden. He was reviewing a folder filled with printed documents. You slept? He asked without looking up. Enough, I replied. Good, he murmured, still focused on the folder. We need to talk. I sat across from him. His expression was firm, more serious than last night. He turned the folder toward me. "You should see this." I pulled the first paper closer. It was an HR complaint from a company I recognized. Melissa's employer. Age discrimination investigation. Multiple witnesses. Behavior flagged. Pattern noted. My stomach tightened. This can't be recent." "It is," Alistair confirmed, keeping his voice steady. 6 months old. I read another page. A handwritten note from a former employee describing how Melissa pressured older staff into early retirement. Another document listed comments she made during meetings. "Old people slow everything down. We need fresh blood, not dead weight." I placed the paper down. "She talks about elders like trash." Alistair watched me carefully. "You saw the behavior at home. Now you see the pattern everywhere else." "She treated me the same way," I whispered. "I just kept excusing it." "You were convenient," Alistair replied. "Free labor, free childcare, free emotional support. Nothing more." I pressed my fingertips against the table, and Ethan let her. "Ethan relies on her," Alistair noted. "She controls the social calendar, the bills, the house, the narrative. He falls in line to keep the peace." I scanned another page, an internal email thread between Melissa and her supervisor. My eyes locked onto one line. "She's becoming a burden. Ethan agrees we need a long-term solution for his mother." The air left my lungs for a moment. "A long-term solution?" "They were planning to move you," Alistair explained. "A nursing home. After Christmas." I clenched my jaw. "He agreed to that?" "He signed off on it," Alistair confirmed. "Quietly. No pushback." I sat back in my chair. My hands were cold now, but not from the air, from realization. My own son signed off on putting me away. Alistair watched me with quiet restraint. He didn't interrupt. He didn't add unnecessary words. He gave space for the truth to land. I looked at another email. It was short, but sharp. "We will keep her out of the house after the holiday. It's easier if she doesn't come back." My chest tightened. "Easier for them." "Convenience over family," Alistair remarked. "It's a common theme." I took another slow breath. "She never loved me. She used me." "Yes," he replied. And Ethan watched it happen. I looked at him. "Why are you showing me this?" "To give you clarity," he responded. "Not anger, not revenge, clarity." I leaned forward slightly. "You knew about her before last night?" "Enough to recognize her behavior," he clarified. "A few years ago, she was involved with a partner of mine. He raised concerns. I kept the documents because I suspected the pattern would continue." "And it did," I concluded. He nodded gently. "People don't hide who they are. Not for long." I closed the folder and placed my hand on top of it. "Thank you for showing me." "You deserved the truth," he replied. I quieted my breathing. The information didn't hurt the way I expected. It didn't shatter me. It sharpened me. The blind hope I carried for years fell away piece by piece. A soft sound came from the hallway. Fatima stepped in with another pot of coffee. "Everything all right?" she asked. "We're reviewing a few things," Alistair responded. She looked at me with cautious eyes. "You look steady." "I am," I replied, "for the first time in years." Fatima nodded with approval. "Good. You'll need that steadiness for what comes next." She left, closing the door behind her. I turned back to Alistair. "So my son agreed to move me out of their life." "He chose the path of least resistance," Alistair corrected. "Melissa pushed. He followed." I folded my arms. He wasn't protecting their home. He was protecting his comfort. "And she knew it," Alistair added. "That's why she didn't fear crossing boundaries with you." I opened the folder again and tapped the line about the nursing home. "This changes everything." "It should," Alistair replied. I leaned forward. "I won't let them decide my future." "Good," he responded. "That's the right place to start." I closed the folder again. "What would you do in my position?" Alistair held my gaze. "Rebuild. Quietly. With intention. Not to hurt them, but to free yourself." That line settled in my chest slowly, like a weight that belonged there. I stood from the chair. Then that's what I'll do. Alistair rose as well. You're stronger than you realize. I know, I answered. And this time, I meant it. The next morning, I got ready earlier than I needed to. The room was quiet, the hallway calm, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel rushed by anyone. I tied my hair back, straightened my jacket, and stepped out with a clear mind. Fatima waited near the elevator with a small smile. Dr. Mitchell is expecting you. The car is ready. Thank you, I replied. I'm looking forward to it. You should, she nodded. They value people with real experience. The ride to the Senior Wellness Center took less than 20 minutes. Through the window, I watched the city shift from residential buildings to medical facilities, small parks, and clean sidewalks. Everything felt organized, efficient, nothing like the chaos I left behind. Alistair met us at the entrance. Ready for your tour? I am, I responded. He motioned toward the glass doors. Let's begin. Inside, the center was bright but controlled. Staff moved with purpose. No loud noises, no confusion. The environment held a kind of dignity missing from most places I'd worked in the past. A woman in a navy blazer approached us. You must be Irene. Her grip was firm. I'm Dr. Mitchell. I shook her hand. Thank you for meeting me. I read your background, she continued. 40 years in healthcare isn't something we overlook. I've always taken the work seriously, I replied. That shows, she noted. We need someone with your instincts. She led us down the hallway. Nurses and assistants greeted her with short nods. She introduced me briefly, but there was no dramatic moment, no spotlight, just respect. We entered a conference room with charts pinned on the wall. Patient flow, medication times, emergency protocols. Dr. Mitchell pointed to a form on the table. We're updating our response plan for high-risk residents. I want your eyes on it. I scanned the document. A few inconsistencies stood out immediately. The timing between shifts didn't match the medication window. The note on family communication was too vague. The emergency escalation chart lacked a final checkpoint. This needs revision, I observed. If 2 nurses switch at the same time, the dependency gap increases. That risks missed doses. Dr. Mitchell smiled. Exactly. Most people overlook that. She handed me a pen. Show us how you'd fix it. I made small adjustments, redrew a section of the chart, and rewrote the note on crisis response. Nothing dramatic, just practical improvements. Dr. Mitchell reviewed the page. Her eyebrows rose slightly. Your experience is gold. I nodded. I've seen many protocols fail because they look good on paper but collapse in real time. And you know how to prevent that, she replied. We left the room and continued down the hall. In one of the patient lounges, a resident became agitated. 2 nurses tried calming him, but he only grew more distressed. Dr. Mitchell watched them for a second, then glanced at me. Want to step in? I approached slowly, keeping my voice steady. You're all right, I told the resident. Let's sit for a moment. He looked at me, confused at first, but something in his expression softened. I guided him to a chair and asked a few simple questions. Within a minute, his breathing steadied. One of the nurses exhaled with relief. How did you do that? Familiar technique, I explained. Give him a focal point. Lower your tone. Don't crowd him. Dr. Mitchell leaned toward me. I want you here. I paused. In what capacity? Senior care consultant, she answered. You'd oversee training, protocol updates, and patient stability techniques. You'd report directly to me. The offer settled in my mind with surprising ease. What's the compensation? $6,800 a month, she replied. Full benefits, housing support if needed. I blinked once. That number was higher than anything I earned back home. That's generous. You're worth it, she returned. And we need someone with your discipline. I considered the offer, not from desperation, but from clarity. I'll accept. Dr. Mitchell extended her hand again. Welcome. We returned to the main office. She printed the contract and walked me through every detail. Nothing hidden, nothing manipulative. When she handed me the pen, I signed without hesitation. You start tomorrow, she confirmed. I'll be ready, I replied. When the meeting ended, Alistair and I stepped outside. The warm air brushed past us. You did well, he remarked. I worked hard for this skill set, I responded. It feels good to use it again. You're building something real, he commented. Not borrowed, not dependent. I let the words settle. They were true. Fatima drove us toward a nearby apartment complex designed for staff housing. She unlocked a unit on the 3rd floor and stepped aside so I could enter. The apartment was simple. Clean kitchen, tidy living space, a balcony overlooking a quiet courtyard. No clutter, no tension, no reminders of the conversations that used to weigh on me. You can move in here any time, Fatima explained. It's reserved for senior staff. I walked through this space slowly. It's enough. It's yours, she assured me. I placed my hand on the kitchen counter. I had forgotten what stability feels like. She nodded. You have it now. Alistair stepped behind me. You chose this. You earned it. I turned toward him. I know. He didn't respond with a speech or some dramatic line. He just nodded, letting the moment stand on its own. As I walked back toward the living room, the realization settled deep inside me. This wasn't a favor. It wasn't charity. It wasn't a rescue story. This was the first step of my own rebuild. I stood at the center of the room and exhaled steadily. This is mine, not borrowed. Fatima smiled. Welcome home. And for the first time in years, I felt the truth of those words. I moved into the staff apartment that afternoon. Fatima helped me bring a few basic items from the guest room. The space felt steady and practical. Nothing fancy, but everything I needed. I placed my coat on the hook near the door and opened the windows to let in fresh air. The phone vibrated on the counter. I glanced at the screen. Ethan's name filled it. For a moment, I let it ring. Then I picked up. Mom. His voice was tight, rushed. Where are you? I'm busy, I replied calmly. You left last night without telling us anything. You asked me to leave, I reminded him. You took my phone, my keys. There wasn't much to explain. He hesitated. Melissa didn't mean for it to go that far. She told me to get out. That's not what she meant, he argued. This morning she's stressed. She barely slept. That isn't my responsibility, I responded. He paused again. When are you coming back? I'm not, I told him. I have a job now, a home, a life I'm building. What job? His tone jumped. With who? A senior position at a wellness center. You barely told us anything, he snapped. You never asked, I returned. The line went silent for a beat. Then Melissa's voice cut in, sharp and unfiltered. Enough with the dramatic act. You belong here, Irene, not out there. I don't belong in a place where I'm not respected, I replied. You're twisting everything, Melissa fired back. We needed space last night, that's all. You removed my seat at the table, I stated, and took my phone, and took the keys. That isn't space, that's removal. You owe us, she shot back. You watched the kids while I built my career. You used our home, our resources. Don't pretend you didn't benefit. I didn't owe you for raising my grandchildren, I answered calmly. That was love, not debt. You're unbelievable, Melissa scoffed. Running away with some millionaire? That's what the neighbors think now. Do you know how embarrassing that looks? That's your problem, I responded, not mine. Ethan's voice returned, lower this time. Mom, Melissa's just upset. Don't listen to her tone right now. Can you come back for a few days, just until things settle? No, I replied. I will not return to a house where humiliation is normal. You're abandoning us, Melissa accused. Do you hear yourself? You abandoned me first, I countered. You're talking like a stranger, she threw back. That's because I stopped accepting disrespect, I answered. The line crackled. Ethan must have taken the phone again. Mom, he whispered, the fight gone. Please come back. The kids miss you. You miss my service, I corrected him. Not me. His breath hitched. That's not fair. It's accurate, I replied. You only call when you need something. That's not true, he murmured. When was the last time you asked how I was doing? I asked. Not what I could do, not what I could fix, just how I was. He didn't respond. When was the last time you invited me without Melissa's approval? I continued. Or defended me? Or corrected her? More silence. You didn't protect me, I reminded him. You stood there while she took everything from my coat. I didn't think. You never think, I interrupted. You react to whatever Melissa wants. He exhaled shakily. I didn't mean for it to go that far. It went exactly where she pushed it, I told him. And you followed. Another pause. We can work this out, he murmured. Just come home. I have a home, I responded. You're with that man. Melissa jumped in again. You think we don't know? You think we don't see what's going on? He's using you, Irene. Open your eyes. Alistair has shown me more respect in 2 days than you have in 2 years, I replied. Melissa scoffed loudly. He'll drop you as soon as he gets bored. That's not your concern. You're being manipulated, she insisted. You always were naive. I let out a steady breath. This conversation is over. You can't hang up, Melissa snapped. I can when disrespect begins, I returned. You won't see the kids again if you keep this up, she barked. I paused. My tone stayed even. Then that will be your choice, not mine. Ethan's voice broke through again. Mom, please don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I replied. I'm creating distance from abuse. He swallowed hard. I didn't realize. You didn't want to realize, I corrected him. The line went quiet again. Mom, he whispered, softer now. Can I at least visit? Just me? Not until you learn boundaries, I replied. His breath caught. Boundaries? Yes, I returned. Respect first, then we talk. Melissa scoffed again. She thinks she's above us now. I think I deserve basic dignity, I responded, and I won't lower that standard again. I heard movement, voices overlapping, a door closing. Then Ethan spoke one last time. I thought you'd always be there. I was, I replied, until you chose convenience over me. The silence on the other end stretched long, heavy, clear. I ended the call. I placed the phone on the counter and inhaled steadily. No shaking, no guilt, just clarity. Alistair stepped into the doorway a moment later. He must have heard part of the conversation from the hall. You're firm, he observed. I needed to be, I answered. He nodded. Good. Boundaries protect peace. I looked at the quiet apartment around me, the fresh air, the steady lighting, the freedom. I am not their servant, I said. No, Alistair agreed, you're not. And standing there, phone still warm in my hand, I felt the truth settle deeper than before. I wasn't going back. I spent most of the next morning reviewing orientation materials for my new role. The apartment was quiet. The stability helped me think clearly for the first time in years. Around 10, Alistair knocked once on the open door. I have something for you, he mentioned. I turned from the table. What is it? He held a thick folder under his arm. You're strong enough to see the rest now. I straightened. Show me. He walked in and placed the folder on the table. The pages inside were neatly clipped, organized, and labeled. HR complaints, internal reports, employee testimonies, all connected to Melissa. Everything here is verified, Alistair noted. Nothing hearsay. I opened the first file, a complaint from a woman named Karen, age 59. She reported Melissa for hostile conduct, unfair workload distribution, and pressuring older employees to take unpaid leave. The next file described a meeting where Melissa told her supervisor, older staff delay progress. We need a younger base. My jaw tightened. She targeted anyone older than her. Consistently, Alistair confirmed. I kept reading. Another document listed staff resignations during her tenure. Almost all were above the age of 50. Several included comments like toxic environment, age harassment, and public humiliation during meetings. I closed the folder slightly. She treats older people like they're disposable. You experienced that firsthand, Alistair reminded me. Yes, I nodded slowly, but I didn't realize it extended beyond the house. Patterns don't stay confined to one place, he noted. I opened the next section labeled Internal Messages. The first screenshot captured Melissa's conversation with a coworker. She's too slow. I'll make her quit by next quarter. Another message read, I can't wait until this older generation steps aside. They hold everything back. I felt my grip tighten on the page. She's worse than I thought. Alistair pulled out a second folder. That's not all. I opened it. Emails between Melissa and Ethan. My breath caught for a moment. The timestamps aligned with the days leading up to Christmas. Melissa, your mother is becoming a problem. Ethan, I know. I don't want conflict. Melissa, we need a plan. She drains my energy. Ethan, what do you want to do? Melissa, a long-term care option after Christmas. Ethan, if that keeps peace, fine. I stared at the final line. He agreed fast. He always does when she pushes, Alistair observed. I kept reading. Another message from Melissa. If she resists, I'll make her uncomfortable enough to leave. Then Ethan. Just don't make it ugly. Melissa. Ugly is subjective. My hands stiffened. She planned the entire thing. Days in advance, Alistair confirmed. Your eviction wasn't emotional. It was strategic. I opened the last subsection labeled Holiday Plan Notes. Melissa's typed checklist included remove her seat, take keys, take phone, create distance, no return entry, discuss nursing home after holiday. I leaned back slowly. She documented it. Yes, Alistair nodded. Very organized cruelty. I took a breath, a tight, controlled one. Ethan never questioned her? He doesn't question anything, Alistair replied. He reacts. He doesn't act. I looked at the page again. She tried to erase me. She tried to manage you, he corrected gently, as if you were an obstacle. Fatima stepped into the doorway with a small tray. Coffee. You'll need it. I thanked her and took a sip. She glanced at the folder. She did this to her employees, too. I heard rumors. Not rumors, I replied. Evidence. Fatima set the tray down. People like her crumble when the truth reaches the right eyes. She thinks she's safe, I noted. People like her always think that, Fatima responded, until they're not. I turned back to Alistair. Why are you showing me this now? Because you need the full picture before you decide your next step, he explained. This helps you separate emotion from fact. And the fact is, she never saw me as family, I concluded. Alistair nodded once. You were never part of their family plan, only their labor plan. The directness of that hit hard, but it was accurate. I returned my focus to the documents. How many people filed complaints against her? 8 formally, Alistair answered. More informally. She manipulated employees, I noted. Then she manipulated my son. And he let it happen, Alistair added. Repeatedly. I exhaled. My son stood beside her while she built a plan to push me out. Yes, Alistair agreed, and he partnered with her decisions. I tapped the folder lightly. This is who she really is. Now you've seen her without excuses, he confirmed. I looked up. What would you do if you were me? Alistair held my gaze. Detach emotionally. Lean on logic. Build your own life so strong their choices no longer touch you. That aligned with what I already felt forming inside me. Fatima crossed her arms gently. You have more power now than you think, she reminded me. You have proof. You have space. You have peace. I nodded. And they have none of those things. They have fear, she pointed out. Fear of losing control over you. I gathered the papers and placed them back into the folder. This doesn't break me. It clarifies me. That's the point, Alistair replied. I stood up. I'm done letting them define my worth. Good, he responded. Now you can start defining your boundaries. I closed the folder completely. My voice stayed calm, firm, steady. My own son signed off on putting me away. Melissa orchestrated every detail, but I'm not broken. I'm awake. Alistair nodded with quiet approval. Then you're ready for the next chapter, he remarked. Yes, I answered. I am. The next few days moved with a steady rhythm. I woke early, walked through the center before my shift, and took notes on staff routines. The stability felt unfamiliar, but welcome. Every hallway, every chart, every interaction reminded me I still had value, something my old household forgot long ago. On Wednesday morning, Fatima met me at the entrance with a folder. Director's meeting at 10, she informed me. Dr. Mitchell wants you there. I'll be ready, I replied. You always are, she nodded. Inside the center, staff were already preparing for the day. Nurses reviewed schedules, assistants organized medication carts. Everyone worked with purpose. Respect was the baseline here, not a luxury. As I entered the lounge, a young nurse named Tara approached. "We tried your de-escalation method yesterday. It worked. The patient calmed within minutes." "Good," I acknowledged. "Just stay consistent. Predictability builds trust." She scribbled a note. "Thank you for the technique." Her sincerity was genuine, not transactional, not guilt-driven. At 10, I joined Dr. Mitchell in the conference room. She adjusted the projector and handed me a stack of charts. "We're reviewing patient flow today," she mentioned. "Your input matters." "I've been analyzing the evening rotation," I replied. "The timing between handoffs needs restructuring." Her eyes shifted toward me. "Show me." I pointed to the chart. "The gap between Shift A and Shift B is too wide. High-risk patients get restless if the handoff isn't smooth. Move one nurse 10 minutes earlier, and the disruption disappears." Dr. Mitchell reviewed the numbers, then nodded with approval. "We'll implement this." A few board members glanced toward me, clearly surprised at how quickly I spotted the issue. One of them leaned closer. "What's your background again?" 40 years in patient care," I answered. "Multiple departments, high-risk cases." "That explains your clarity," he remarked, "Doctor." Mitchell continued the meeting, but she paused twice to ask my view on specific issues. She trusted my judgment. She valued my words, without hesitation. When the meeting ended, she handed me a schedule. "I want you to join the director rotation next quarter, if you're interested." I looked at her directly. "I'm interested." "Good," she responded. "You have the instincts for it." Afterward, I walked through the center again, observing new staff interactions. Several nurses approached with questions. Instead of treating me like an inconvenience, as Melissa often did, they treated me like a resource. Around lunchtime, Alistair sent a message. "Check your new apartment around 5. There's something for you." I replied, "I'll be there." The rest of the day was steady. I trained 2 staff members on emergency calm-down strategies, reviewed a protocol, and spoke with a resident's family member who wanted clarity on medication timing. By the end of the shift, the team thanked me for helping streamline their routine. As I exited the building, Dr. Mitchell walked beside me. "You remind me of my old mentor," she noted. "Direct, clear. You make people better without raising your voice." "I prefer logic over volume," I replied. "That's why it works," she nodded. "Good leaders don't need noise." Fatima picked me up in the car and drove toward the apartment complex. "You've made an impression quickly," she commented. "I'm just doing my job." "No," she countered. "You're doing it exceptionally." When we reached the building, I stepped out and unlocked my new apartment. The interior was brighter than before. A small dining table sat near the window. A few essential kitchen tools were neatly arranged. A soft rug covered part of the living room floor. Practical items, not excessive. Thoughtful. "You didn't have to do all this," I told Fatima as she entered behind me. "You'll be working long hours," she replied. "You need comfort, not clutter." I walked toward the bookshelf. A framed photo of a landscape sat on the top shelf, simple and calm. "Who brought these?" "Alistair," she answered. "He wanted you to settle in properly." I nodded slowly. "He thinks ahead." "He recognizes strength," she returned. A knock came at the door. Alistair stepped in with a small box in his hands. "Everything functioning?" "It looks complete," I replied. "Good," he nodded. "You'll need a stable home base for what's coming." "What do you mean?" "Your workload will increase," he explained. "Your influence at the center will grow, and when that happens, you need a place that supports you." I looked around again. "This suits me." "It should," he remarked. "You earned it." Fatima smiled. "She did." Alistair placed the box on the counter. "Open it." I lifted the lid. Inside were basic supplies: pens, notebooks, a badge holder, a small planner. Tools for organization. "These are for your new role," he mentioned. "Every leader needs structure." I closed the box gently. "Thank you." He took a calm breath. I can provide resources. You provide the discipline. Together, it works. That's fair, I replied. He stepped aside so I could move around the space. The apartment felt different now, less temporary, more intentional, a place where I could choose my next step, not react to someone else's demands. Fatima returned to the doorway. Do you want help arranging anything else? I'll finish the rest myself, I told her. This is a good start. Then we'll leave you to it, she nodded. Alistair lingered a moment. You're stepping into your own light. Keep going. I plan to, I replied. They left the apartment gently, closing the door behind them. I walked toward the balcony and unlocked it. The courtyard below was quiet. A few workers cleaned pathways. The evening air was warm, steady, predictable. I stood there for a moment, absorbing the stillness. No tension, no guilt, no demands, only space to grow. I brought the planner to the table and started organizing my tasks for the week. Staff training, protocol review, director prep. Everything lined up clearly. For the first time in a long time, my life wasn't built around someone else's needs. It was built around mine. I sat down in the center of the apartment and let the calm settle. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. It was clarity. I'm not lost anymore, I murmured. Not broken, not dependent, not waiting for anyone's approval. Just rebuilding. On my terms. I finished reviewing a stack of medical reports when my phone started buzzing on the table. The vibration didn't stop. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15. I didn't rush. I closed the folder first, placed it neatly on the shelf, and only then walked over to the counter. Ethan's name flashed across the screen. I let it ring a moment before answering. Yes? His voice came through in a strained breath. Mom, where are you? I've been calling all morning. I've been working, I replied. You didn't respond to any of my messages. I'm not obligated to, I returned. He exhaled shakily. Everything at home is a mess. Melissa hasn't calmed down since you left. She keeps pacing, yelling at everyone, crying 1 second, snapping the next. That isn't my concern, I noted. She thinks you're turning the kids against her, he continued. I've barely spoken to them, I reminded him. She doesn't believe that, he muttered. She says you're doing it on purpose. Before I answered, another voice burst into the call. Melissa's tone hit like a slap. Stop lying for her, she shouted in the background. Put it on speaker, now. Ethan hesitated, but the rustling confirmed he obeyed. Irene? Melissa's voice cut through with sharp intensity. You can end this right now. Come home. Fix the embarrassment you caused. I didn't cause anything, I responded. I simply left when you told me to. You manipulated the situation, she accused. You made me look like a monster. You removed my seat at the table, took my phone, and ordered me out of your house, I reminded her. That wasn't manipulation. That was your plan. You're twisting this, Melissa barked. I wasn't thinking clearly. Holidays are stressful, you know that. I know what intentional actions look like, I returned. Ethan cut in weakly. Mom, please don't escalate this. I'm not escalating, I replied. I'm clarifying. I heard Melissa scoff. Oh, she's learned big words now. Must be that millionaire teaching her how to act superior. Alistair doesn't control me, I responded. Respect does. You're living in his place, she fired back. You think that isn't suspicious? I'm working, I corrected. And I pay my own way. Melissa ignored that. Ethan's parents think you ran off with him. That's the story now. You abandoned your family for a rich man. That story didn't come from me, I stated. It came from you. She went silent for half a beat, then snapped. You embarrassed us. Do you understand how humiliating it is to explain to people why you disappeared? Try explaining why you threw me out, I replied. Ethan jumped in again. Mom, she's scared. She doesn't know what to expect now. Neither did I countered. When you blocked my calls. He paused. I shouldn't have done that. You didn't hesitate, I returned. She told me you needed space, he murmured. And you believed her, I noted. More rustling came from the phone. Melissa was clearly pacing. "Irene, stop punishing us." "I'm not punishing anyone." "Then come home," she demanded. "Help with the kids. Help with the schedule. Take some responsibility." "I raised my son," I replied. "That was my responsibility. The rest is yours." "You don't get to walk away," she snapped. "You made that decision for me," I reminded her, "at your door, on Christmas." "Stop using that night as an excuse," she yelled. "We all say things we don't mean during the holidays." "You wrote it," I countered. "You documented your plan." Silence. Complete. Still. Ethan finally muttered, "She didn't mean for you to see those emails." "But she meant every word inside them," I replied. Melissa's voice returned, trembling with anger. "You invaded my privacy." "You planned to put me in a nursing home," I stated, tone even. "That wasn't private. That was strategy." "You can't throw that in my face," she barked. "I'm acknowledging reality," I said, "not throwing anything." Ethan's voice cracked. "Mom, please, this is getting out of hand. Just come home so we can talk." "We're talking now," I replied. "No," he muttered, "not like this." "Then tell me what you want," I asked. He stammered, I just want my mom back." "You never lost me," I told him. "You gave me up." "That's not true," Ethan whispered. "It is," I corrected. "You followed her plan without question. You protected her comfort over my safety." Melissa hissed into the phone. "She's manipulating you. Can't you see that? She's turning everything around." "I'm speaking facts," I returned calmly. "You're acting like you're better than us now," Melissa accused. "No," I corrected. "I'm acting like someone who understands boundaries." Melissa let out a bitter laugh. "Boundaries? Seriously? You lived under our roof, ate our food, used our utilities, and now you want to talk about boundaries?" "I contributed financially," I reminded her. "You know that." "That was nothing," she shot back. "We still carried most of the load." "Yet you treated me like unpaid labor," I replied. "That's not true." "It is," I returned. "You needed childcare, housework, errands, constant availability. You never once checked on my well-being." Ethan spoke softly again. "Mom, we do appreciate you." "You appreciate what I did," I clarified, "not who I am." Melissa's frustration cracked into a scream. "You're tearing this family apart." "I left because you pushed me out," I replied, "and you're still pushing." "If you stay there," she threatened, "don't expect to see us again, or the kids." I didn't flinch. "That choice will be yours, not mine." Ethan's breath shook. "Mom, please, don't end it like this." "I'm not ending anything," I answered. "I'm protecting myself." "What does that mean?" he whispered. "It means I won't return to a place built on disrespect," I replied. "If you want a relationship with me, you come with honesty and boundaries, nothing less." He didn't respond. Melissa muttered something in the background, short, hostile, incoherent. Then the call went quiet. I waited 3 seconds. 4. 5. No one spoke. I ended the call. I placed the phone on the table and leaned back in the chair. My breathing was steady. My hands didn't shake. There was no guilt, only confirmation. Alistair appeared in the doorway. "Everything handled?" "Yes," I replied. "Good," he nodded. "Clarity makes the future easier." He was right. The line between past and present had never been clearer. I finished reviewing a stack of medical reports when my phone started buzzing on the table. The vibration didn't stop. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15. I didn't rush. I closed the folder first, placed it neatly on the shelf, and only then walked over to the counter. Ethan's name flashed across the screen. I let it ring a moment before answering. "Yes?" His voice came through in a strained breath. "Mom, where are you? I've been calling all morning." "I've been working," I replied. "You didn't respond to any of my messages." "I'm not obligated to," I returned. He exhaled shakily. "Everything at home is a mess. Melissa hasn't calmed down since you left. She keeps pacing, yelling at everyone, crying one second, snapping the next. That isn't my concern, I noted. She thinks you're turning the kids against her, he continued. I've barely spoken to them, I reminded him. She doesn't believe that, he muttered. She says you're doing it on purpose. Before I answered, another voice burst into the call. Melissa's tone hit like a slap. Stop lying for her, she shouted in the background. Put it on speaker, now. Ethan hesitated, but the rustling confirmed he obeyed. Irene, Melissa's voice cut through with sharp intensity. You can end this right now. Come home. Fix the embarrassment you caused. I didn't cause anything, I responded. I simply left when you told me to. You manipulated the situation, she accused. You made me look like a monster. You removed my seat at the table, took my phone, and ordered me out of your house, I reminded her. That wasn't manipulation. That was your plan. You're twisting this, Melissa barked. I wasn't thinking clearly. Holidays are stressful. You know that. I know what intentional actions look like, I returned. Ethan cut in weakly. Mom, please don't escalate this. I'm not escalating, I replied. I'm clarifying. I heard Melissa scoff. Oh, she's learned big words now. Must be that millionaire teaching her how to act superior. Alistair doesn't control me, I responded. Respect does. You're living in his place, she fired back. You think that isn't suspicious? I'm working, I corrected. And I pay my own way. Melissa ignored that. Ethan's parents think you ran off with him. That's the story now. You abandoned your family for a rich man. That story didn't come from me, I stated. It came from you. She went silent for half a beat, then snapped, You embarrassed us. Do you understand how humiliating it is to explain to people why you disappeared? Try explaining why you threw me out, I replied. Ethan jumped in again. Mom, she's scared. She doesn't know what to expect now. Neither did I countered. When you blocked my calls. He paused. I shouldn't have done that. You didn't hesitate, I returned. She told me you needed space, he murmured. And you believed her, I noted. More rustling came from the phone. Melissa was clearly pacing. Irene, stop punishing us. I'm not punishing anyone. Then come home, she demanded. Help with the kids. Help with the schedule. Take some responsibility. I raised my son, I replied. That was my responsibility. The rest is yours. You don't get to walk away, she snapped. You made that decision for me, I reminded her. At your door, on Christmas. Stop using that night as an excuse, she yelled. We all say things we don't mean during the holidays. You wrote it, I countered. You documented your plan. Silence. Complete. Still. Ethan finally muttered, She didn't mean for you to see those emails. But she meant every word inside them, I replied. Melissa's voice returned, trembling with anger. You invaded my privacy! You planned to put me in a nursing home, I stated, tone even. That wasn't private. That was strategy. You can't throw that in my face, she barked. I'm acknowledging reality, I said, not throwing anything. Ethan's voice cracked. Mom, please, this is getting out of hand. Just come home so we can talk. We're talking now, I replied. No, he muttered. Not like this. Then tell me what you want, I asked. He stammered. I just want my mom back. You never lost me, I told him. You gave me up. That's not true, Ethan whispered. It is, I corrected. You followed her plan without question. You protected her comfort over my safety. Melissa hissed into the phone. She's manipulating you. Can't you see that? She's turning everything around. I'm speaking facts, I returned calmly. You're acting like you're better than us now, Melissa accused. No, I corrected. I'm acting like someone who understands boundaries. Melissa let out a bitter laugh. Boundaries? Seriously? You lived under our roof, ate our food, used our utilities, and now you want to talk about boundaries? I contributed financially, I reminded her. You know that. That was nothing, she shot back. We still carried most of the load. Yet you treated me like unpaid labor, I replied. That's not true. It is, I returned. You needed childcare, housework, errands, constant availability. You never once checked on my well-being." Ethan spoke softly again. "Mom, we do appreciate you." "You appreciate what I did," I clarified, "not who I am." Melissa's frustration cracked into a scream. "You're tearing this family apart." "I left because you pushed me out," I replied, "and you're still pushing." "If you stay there," she threatened, "don't expect to see us again, or the kids." I didn't flinch. "That choice will be yours, not mine." Ethan's breath shook. "Mom, please, don't end it like this." "I'm not ending anything," I answered. "I'm protecting myself." "What does that mean?" he whispered. "It means I won't return to a place built on disrespect," I replied. "If you want a relationship with me, you come with honesty and boundaries, nothing less." He didn't respond. Melissa muttered something in the background, short, hostile, incoherent. Then the call went quiet. I waited 3 seconds. 4, 5. No one spoke. I ended the call. I placed the phone on the table and leaned back in the chair. My breathing was steady. My hands didn't shake. There was no guilt, only confirmation. Alistair appeared in the doorway. "Everything handled?" "Yes," I replied. "Good," he nodded. "Clarity makes the future easier." He was right. The line between past and present had never been clearer. Next segment 10, Christmas Aftermath, Rewriting History. You said, next segment 10, Christmas Aftermath, Rewriting History. Nhờ đúng văn phong mới, không miêu tả ẩn dụ, đúng số từ, bà lão và các mối quan hệ. Nhân vật tình tiết phải thật chính xác và logic nhé. ChatGPT said, segment men, Christmas Aftermath, Rewriting History, 900 words, đúng văn phong sắc, factual, không on you, không dừng sad. I started my morning reviewing staff notes in the office near the East Wing. The center was quiet, steady, and predictable. Everything my old life wasn't. I logged the updates, organized my tasks for the day, and took a short walk to the courtyard to clear my head. By the time I returned to my apartment after my shift, my phone showed 12 unread messages, all from neighbors back home. I opened the first one. "Melissa told us you ran away with a millionaire. Is everything all right?" The second message followed immediately. "She mentioned you abandoned the grandkids on Christmas. Hard to believe, just checking in." Another message. "She told the whole block you stole her holiday piece. What happened?" I scrolled through each text carefully. None of it surprised me. Melissa always controlled the narrative. When things slipped out of her grip, she rewrote the story instead of correcting herself. I deleted the first batch of messages. A new one arrived as I wiped the screen. "You didn't need to hurt them like this, Irene. You should apologize." I recognized the number, my former neighbor, Linda. She used to greet me warmly every morning, but she also heard everything Melissa told her. I deleted that message too. Another neighbor wrote, "She's posting things on social media, something about betrayal. People are sharing it." I placed the phone on the counter and exhaled slowly. Not from stress, from recognition. These weren't facts. These were Melissa's last attempts to regain the control she was losing. A moment later, the phone buzzed with a different message, this one from a parent whose child I helped at a community event years ago. "Don't let anyone twist the truth. You were always kind." I kept that one. When the phone buzzed again, I answered. Alistair's calm voice greeted me. "You're quiet tonight." "I'm sorting things out," I replied. "Neighborhood gossip?" "Melissa is rewriting the story," I noted. "Telling everyone I ran off with you, or abandoned my family, or ruined her holiday." "That's predictable," he commented. "People who lose power often turn to noise." "She's loud today," I remarked. "Because you're no longer reachable," he returned. "You set a boundary. She can't handle it." I picked up my phone again and opened another message. It was longer. "She told us you were unstable. That's why she asked you to leave. I hope you get help." I deleted it without hesitation. Alistair continued, "You don't need to defend yourself. Truth doesn't need announcements." "I'm not responding to anyone," I replied. "That's the right approach," he agreed. I walked to the sink and turned on the water, rinsing the mug I used earlier. I spent years letting guilt pull me back into situations that didn't serve me. I'm not doing that again. "Good," Alistair noted. You're building distance. That's healthy. Another notification pinged. I checked it. A neighbor sent a screenshot of Melissa's social media post. She left us broken. She left her grandchildren. She left on Christmas night with a stranger. We tried to help her, but she didn't want help. I kept my expression flat. She's desperate, I murmured. Of course she is, Alistair responded. She's losing the story. I turned off the sink and dried my hands. I always knew she cared about appearances more than the truth, but this is a new level. Fear pushes people to extremes, he remarked, especially people who rely on image. I opened one final message. Did you really leave because you found something better? Melissa says you replaced your family. I deleted it. I placed the phone face down on the counter. She's building a world where she's the victim. That world will collapse, Alistair remarked. All false narratives do. I don't need it to collapse, I replied. I just need peace. That's already happening, he noted. I leaned against the counter and took a steady breath. Not strained, not emotional, just centered. The old me would have rushed to explain myself, I admitted, to protect my reputation, to make others comfortable. And what did that ever earn you? He asked. Exhaustion, I replied. Exactly, he confirmed. Now you're operating from logic, not guilt. A message from Fatima arrived next. If people contact you with noise, ignore them. You owe no one explanations. I smiled lightly at her timing. I'm not responding to anyone, I told Alistair. That's strength, he noted. Silence is a boundary too. The phone vibrated once more. I checked it only because the sender was unfamiliar. The message read, "You're braver than you think." No name, just that sentence. I kept it. I sat down on the small sofa and opened my planner, reviewing tomorrow's tasks. Every line was practical, real, measurable. None of it depended on Melissa's moods or Ethan's indecision. The contrast between the life I had and the life I was building was sharp and unmistakable. My days no longer revolved around managing other people's chaos. My decisions no longer depended on who approved of them. My worth no longer rested in a kitchen chair Melissa could pull away whenever she needed power. As I checked off the last task on my schedule, Alistair spoke again. You've handled this with dignity. I'm learning, I replied. You're doing more than learning, he continued. You're reclaiming your story. I looked at the phone, still face down on the counter. Their version is not mine. That's the truth, he affirmed, and I won't chase their narrative anymore, I concluded. Good, Alistair remarked. Let them talk. You're living. I closed the planner, stood, and placed it back on the shelf. The messages kept buzzing occasionally, but I didn't pick up the phone again. For the first time in decades, the noise didn't pull me. The guilt didn't pull me. The people who refused to respect me no longer had access to me. Their story ended the moment I walked out of that house. My story was just starting to take shape. I finished my shift early that afternoon and walked toward the lobby to check the transportation schedule for the next week. The building felt steady, organized, and warm in a way that didn't depend on anyone's approval. As I reviewed the schedule on the wall, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Liam. Grandma, our flight lands at 3:40 p.m. We're coming. I froze for 1 second, not from fear, but from clarity. I typed back, I'll be there. No questions, no panic, just certainty. I left the center, and Fatima met me at the car. Airport? Yes, I nodded. You look calmer than I expected. I know why they're coming, I replied. Not because Melissa told them to, because they chose to. Fatima gave a firm nod and drove. Traffic moved smoothly. The city's skyline reflected against the windshield as we approached the terminal. I stepped out and waited near the arrival doors, hands steady, mind clear. The sliding doors opened. Liam spotted me first. He dropped his backpack and walked straight toward me with long, determined steps. Emily was right behind him, clutching her stuffed penguin, eyes wide and bright. They reached me at the same time. Liam wrapped both arms around me with a firm, protective grip. Emily hugged my waist with all the strength her small body could manage. We missed you, Liam breathed out. A lot. Emily looked up. Mom wouldn't let us call you. I knelt slightly to meet her eyes. You're here now. Fatima moved closer to help them with their bags. Welcome, she greeted them warmly. Liam offered her a polite nod. Thank you for taking care of our grandma. Fatima smiled gently. She takes care of herself. We only help a little. We loaded their bags into the car. During the drive, Emily pressed her face to the window, looking at every building, every intersection. It's so clean here, she observed. Different from home, Liam added. I turned slightly. How was the airport? Did your parents drive you? Liam shook his head. No, a friend dropped us off. Mom didn't come inside. Emily's voice softened. She cried in the car, but she didn't come to say goodbye. Liam leaned back. She was angry we wanted to see you. I kept my tone steady. You didn't do anything wrong. He looked at me firmly. We know. Fatima parked outside the center. Let me show them around, I offered. We entered through the main hallway. Emily glanced around with awe. Residents waved. Nurses smiled. The environment felt safe, structured, everything Melissa never allowed in her home. Liam studied the walls, the different departments, the staff interactions. You actually work here, he noted. Yes. And they respect you, he added. Respect is the standard here, I replied. A nurse approached with a warm smile. These your grandkids? Yes, I nodded. They look proud, she observed. Emily took my hand and squeezed it. Can we see your office? I led them to the training room where I kept most of my materials. Liam walked around slowly, reading every poster, checking every protocol chart. This looks like leadership, he whispered. This is leadership, I corrected gently. Emily sat on the edge of a chair and kicked her feet lightly. Do you like working here? I do, I replied. It's the first time in a long time I feel useful in a place that appreciates it. Liam turned toward me. Mom always acted like you didn't do much, but seeing all this, she lied. She was overwhelmed, I answered. No, he countered. She used you. Emily's eyes lowered. She always yelled when you weren't there. Liam added, she told us you were the reason she was stressed, but after you left, nothing got better. It got worse. I let them speak without interruption. Liam continued, she lost her job. HR found out how she treated older employees. I held his gaze steady. How did she handle that? She blamed you, he answered. Said the timing was a coincidence, but still blamed you. Emily looked down. Dad keeps trying to calm her, but he doesn't fix anything. Liam took a deep breath. We came because we wanted to see where you went. We wanted to see if you were happy. I'm safe, I assured them. And happy? Emily whispered. I nodded. Yes. She smiled. I showed them the courtyard, the staff lounge, and the small cafeteria. Liam noticed every detail, absorbing the atmosphere. This is nothing like home, he muttered. No, I agreed. It's not. We returned to my apartment. I unlocked the door and let them walk in first. Emily spun slowly, taking in each corner of the room. It feels peaceful, she murmured. Liam inspected the small desk, the planner, the framed schedule. You're building a real life, he noted. I am, I confirmed. Emily climbed onto the sofa. We should stay with you. Liam smirked. Mom would lose her mind. She already did, Emily countered softly. They both sat beside me. Liam leaned forward. Grandma, we didn't come because she told us to. We came because we wanted you. Not the house, not the dinners. You. Emily nodded quickly. We wanted you. My chest tightened, not from pain but from clarity sharper than anything Melissa tried to distort. I'm here, I replied calmly, and I have room for both of you whenever you choose to come. Fatima knocked lightly before entering. Dinner is ready outside. Mr. Grant set up a table in the garden. Liam's eyes widened. He did what? He likes order, I explained lightly. Fatima smirked. He likes making sure important guests are welcomed. Emily giggled. Are we important? To him, yes, Fatima replied. To your grandmother, even more. We walked toward the garden behind the apartment building. Alistair waited near a table with warm lights, simple dishes, and enough space for all of us. He greeted them with a steady nod. I'm glad you both came. Liam stood straight. Thank you for taking care of her. Alistair returned his nod. She's easy to respect. Emily took the seat next to me. Liam sat across. Fatima helped bring drinks, then stepped away to give us privacy. Liam ate a few bites before speaking softly. We came because we wanted you, not because she sent us. Emily leaned against my arm. We want to visit again. You can, I told them, anytime. The night settled around us, quiet, structured, peaceful. Exactly the opposite of the world I left. The next morning arrived quietly. Liam and Emily packed their bags after breakfast, folding everything with care. Fatima prepared snacks for their flight and helped them organize their passports. The air wasn't heavy, just steady, grounded, and honest. When the car pulled up to take us to the airport, Emily held my hand tightly. We don't want to go back yet. You'll come again, I told her. This isn't the last visit. Liam looked out the window. It's going to feel strange there now. I know, I replied. But you two didn't create that environment. You're not responsible for it. At the terminal entrance, they hugged me again. Emily with all the force she had. Liam with the kind of protective grip he never showed his parents. We love you, Emily whispered. I love you both, I returned. Liam stepped back. We'll call when we land, even if Mom doesn't want us to. You decide who you call, I told him. Not her. Fatima guided them toward the security line, and I watched them until they disappeared behind the barrier. The airport quieted around me. A few minutes later, I turned to walk outside and spotted Melissa standing a short distance away. She wasn't yelling, she wasn't pointing or throwing accusations. She stood still, thinner than before, her posture tense but not aggressive. Her eyes locked on mine as if she didn't know how to start. I stepped closer, not to comfort her, to give conversation room. She lowered her gaze briefly before lifting it again. Her voice came out soft, almost fragile. Mom, take care. No excuses, no fabricated stories, no demands, just that one line. I studied her expression. There was exhaustion in it, fear, and something unfamiliar, awareness. You too, I returned evenly. She nodded once, turned, and walked toward the escalator without looking back. Her steps were slow, controlled, almost careful. I didn't chase her. I didn't interpret it as forgiveness. I accepted it as a small shift, a crack in the wall she built around herself. Fatima met me outside. Unexpected? Not really, I replied. She's unraveling, but she's trying to hold on. Fatima opened the car door. Sometimes collapse makes people honest. That might be true, I acknowledged. Back at the apartment, a white envelope rested at my door. No name, just handwriting I recognized immediately. Melissa. I carried it inside and sat at the table before opening it. I'm working on myself. I'm not ready to apologize yet, but I understand why you left. I need time. I know I can't ask for anything now, but I wanted you to know I'm trying. The letter continued with short, clipped sentences. The kids told me they're safe with you. I'm glad, even if it hurts. I don't expect you to return. I just hope one day we can talk like people, not opponents. There was no dramatic ending, no plea, just an honest admission, flawed, incomplete, but human. I placed the letter on the table and reached for a pen. My response was simple. Respect is the only door I open now. If you come with that, I'll meet you where you are. If not, distance remains. I folded the note, placed it in an envelope, and left it for the courier downstairs. Nothing emotional, nothing harsh, just clear boundaries. Later that afternoon, Alistair stopped by the center to check the new floor plan Dr. Mitchell wanted reviewed. When the meeting wrapped up, he walked with me toward the courtyard. "You look lighter today," he observed. "I feel clear," I replied. "Clarity is stronger than revenge," he noted. "I didn't take revenge," I returned. "I rebuilt my life." "And that," he remarked calmly, "is the strongest revenge there is." We reached the small garden where the staff took breaks. The winter sun hung low, warm but steady. Not dramatic, just consistent, the way I wanted my life to be. I sat on the bench and looked around. Residents laughed softly nearby. Nurses discussed their shifts. The quiet noise of stability filled the air. Alistair took the seat beside me. "What's next for you?" "Work," I answered. "Progress, boundaries, peace." He nodded. "Dubai suits you." "It does," I agreed, "more than I expected." "You're not going back to the States," he noted. Not a question, just an observation. "No," I replied. "There's nothing there for me that isn't tied to pain or expectation." "And here?" "Here, I have control." Fatima approached with 2 cups of tea. "For both of you," she announced. "You look like you're discussing the future." "We are," Alistair replied. Fatima glanced at me. "You've changed." "I'm learning," I responded. She shook her head gently. "No. You're remembering who you were before everyone made you small." And I held the warm cup and thought about the past weeks, the humiliation, the cold street, the empty hands, the unexpected rescue, the rebuild, the boundary setting, the clarity. "I'm not lost anymore," I murmured. "No," Fatima agreed. "You're found." When she walked back toward the building, Alistair leaned slightly closer, not intruding, just present. "You've built something real here." "I know." "And you'll keep building," he added. "I will." We sat in silence for a moment, not the heavy silence of pain, but the stable silence of understanding. After a long breath, I spoke one final truth, the truth that tied everything together. I rebuilt myself, and I will never lose me again. When I look back at everything that happened, I understand one thing clearly. Peace doesn't come from waiting for people to treat you right. Peace comes from choosing yourself when they don't. Thank you for spending this time with me, for listening to my story, and for allowing my voice to be heard. If you want to follow more stories like this, stories of strength, dignity, and second chances, make sure to stay with Grandma Life Stories. Your support means more than you know. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, stay safe, and choose yourself when the world forgets to.